during this time in the 1930s, my grandfather, Louis, and his brother, Clem, entered the family business as the second generation. And my grandfather was the foodie, and my uncle was the numbers person. And that's when the menu really started to take shape and have a little bit different opportunities for a little bit more ingenuity in the kitchen. They had plans to have a kitchen and a full restaurant on the lower level, and then they had the main floor, the bar, and the sandwich carvery, which still exists today, on the main floor. And the lower level was a more casual concept and more cafe-like foods, and the main floor was, full service dining, which is what is the backbone of what we do today. The interesting things that the second generation went through, obviously there was a lot of gangsters, and there was people trying to sell liquor illegally, but the Berghoffs didn't go for it. My great-grandfather did not want to be held to any kind of illegal activities like that. He just had too much integrity and too much faith, and he didn't want to commingle with that kind of a group. So they stayed away from liquor. People always say, "Oh, wasn't it in the basement? And didn't they serve it when people weren't looking?" And they didn't. He didn't want to. He had kids. He had no wife, and he was living with his brother, who was helping raise his family. And he said, "I'm not taking a risk on, jeopardizing my family." And so I'm sure that wasn't easy. Another thing that happened was during the wars, especially the First World War, because we were German, there was a lot of discrimination against him because he was German, and the Germans were obviously killing all these people in the other part of the world. And he was like, "I'm an American German, and my kids are fighting in the war as well." And he put stars in the window of the bar that represented each child that was fighting in the war on behalf of one of the immigrants that worked in the restaurant, so that we were all supporting each other from a standpoint of politically and publicly. And the restaurant was like the melting pot of nationalities. It was Italian and German and Greek and Pakistani and Israeli and Puerto Rican. There was more nationalities that were employed under one roof than any other institution in the city of Chicago, because there wasn't discrimination happening. And another one of the great stories that transpired during that time was when they would come through from immigration and do checks. My grandfather would lock the employees in the walk-in that didn't have proof of citizenship and turn off the fans until they had passed their inspections, so that those employees were not deported or sent back to their countries, because they were obviously there for a reason, and he supported that. So they were all a little, very interesting in some of the things. I'm like, "You're kidding me." Like, they'd lock the walk-in, they'd turn off the fan, and because they would heard that the inspectors were on the street coming down, and they didn't know how long, and they would spend hours sitting on the floor in the walk-in, waiting for it to be safe for them to. We have 16 walk-ins in Adams Street. It's 45,000 square feet. The building is enormous, so there's a lot of places to hide. And they figured it out when they needed to, which I think is just amazing from a standpoint of protecting, each other's families. The other thing that's amazing about my kids, I have 3 children, a 16-year-old, a 13-year-old, and a 10-year-old. And my oldest 2 are girls, and they work with me. And my oldest daughter decided one summer, when she was helping the accounts payable clerk pay the bills, and she was seeing the rent check and the real estate taxes and the electricity, and man, this place is like a mistress. She's really expensive, very much. And she smells, and she leaks, and she's demanding. And so this whole thing of calling the Berghoff the mistress has become a part of our family stories, because the building has such soul. And I know we all walk into some place and we have a memory, that comes to us. And, the Berghoff, when you walk in, it smells like corned beef, roast beef, and turkey all together being cooked with bread. So it has this amazing smell that you don't smell anywhere else. And every now and then, the sewer springs a leak, or the pipes spring a leak, or the grease trap springs a leak, or it leaks a lot. She leaks a lot. And that's the thing that freaked me out the most when I moved into the building. This is the ceiling price menu that the federal government made my grandfather, Lewis. You can see on the bottom right-hand side, he's had to sign it. And, there was rationing on sugar and rationing on, there was rationing on everything. And this is what he agreed to feed people and how much he agreed to charge, no matter what happened with the cost of the food. You can see it was filed War Prices Rationing Board. It was a very, you couldn't print, that's how it was printed and given out to people. You can still see that the menu still says breaded veal cutlet. It doesn't say schnitzel yet. It says right there, breaded veal cutlet. So many of these things are still the backbone of the menu. We still serve breaded veal cutlet, although in the 50s it made its transitional name to Wiener Schnitzel, which is a sexier name than breaded veal cutlet. It's the same thing, but it made its transition. We still serve broiled whitefish. Another great food story is Frankfurters. Oscar Mayer was a very good friend of my great-grandfather's, and Oscar Mayer made what I call the German hot dog for a Frankfurter for the menu. And so Oscar Mayer's kind of helped my great-grandfather premiere his sausages. They were quite a team together. Pot roast is still on the menu. Frog legs have come and gone. I haven't done liver dumplings. I haven't had a call for that. Or the braised ox joints. The steamed fin hattie has come and gone. Pork tenderloin has come and gone. So if you look at this is stuff that was, served in the 40s, and so much of it is still really, really popular right now. Liver and bacon comes and goes. Goulash comes and goes. The sole is on the menu right now. We were open for breakfast, so we made breakfast at the restaurant. And so this menu went from 7 a.m. until 10 p.m., 7 days a week. You can see how well and how safety conscious and healthy conscious the meat was delivered. It came in the front door, and it went up to the butcher shop. And this is really where I got my second inspiration for the second cookbook, which is called the Berghoff Cafe Cookbook, which was how my family reused and reinvented and recycled every single thing they had in the restaurant into a menu item. There was no waste. So something became of that whole piece of meat that went into the restaurant. Look at that. This is the original. The bar still stands just as it looks right now. It is original still from 1913. It's starting to leak now, so I'm going to probably have to replace the underlying stainless steel components. But the murals are still the same. The wood is all the same. The chandeliers are all the same. I asked my engineer the other day if I could put the lights on dimmers, and he laughed. So, there's so many parts of Adams Street that you just kind of have to go, it is what it is. It's going to stay the way it is. That's the main dining room right now. And you can see the slide area where the food came out. That's where all the food came out, where there's an opening there. There is a wall there now. And I don't know when that wall was put in, but that's where all the food came out, right over there. But the hubbub of the restaurant, the bones are all still 99% the way that you see them there today. The third generation was my mom and dad, and it's not to be had without stories. Transitioning family businesses, no matter how old you are, is never easy. But I want to go backwards a little bit because we missed the whole part about Prohibition, and that's a really great story. So Prohibition's coming to a repeal, and my great-grandfather is desperate for his liquor license back, and Oscar Mayer knows the mayor really well. So Oscar Mayer and my great-grandfather head over to City Hall and sit on the steps and wait for the mayor to show up on the day that Prohibition was repealed, and my great-grandfather got liquor license number 1 and number 2 on April 7th, which is my mom's birthday. Isn't that kind of like ironic? And there's the copy of the license in the right-hand corner, and that's in the bar. And there is my great-grandfather with the license in his hands, and he's well into his 80s now. Second generation is running the business, but he wanted to get that liquor license back in their hands. And then the advertisement for the beer, the root beer, they made orange tang, they made some concoction, some German concoction that was going to help settle your stomach with like tonic bitters and lime, that was this potion to help you with an upset stomach. They made grape soda, quite a there was a lot of ingenuity there. So my mom and dad, my dad worked at the restaurant from the time he graduated from Michigan State University, and he was 25 years old, and he and my mom got married, and then they had me. They got married in 1960, I came in 61, and the family was still very much involved, but my dad was the man on the ground. And he was the one running the institution. And he had family members as partners, and he didn't want any more partners, so he said, either you buy me out or I buy you out. And they said, well, we're not going to buy you out, and you're not going to buy us out. We're not interested. And he said, well, I'm going to leave the business then. So you'll have to hire someone to manage the business, because I'm going to take my family and I'm going to move out of town. I don't want to be partners anymore. I don't want to be in business with anybody else. I want to do my own thing.